गुड मॉर्निंग जेंटलमैन। दोस्तों, बहुत अच्छा मौसम है एंड मैं आपके साथ कुछ टॉपिक के ऊपर बात करूंगा। एज यू आर ऑल अवेयर, I am a global traveler. I travel all over the globe. I was some time back in Kazakhstan, and then I was in Singapore, and a lot of people asked me certain questions, particularly after the Bangladesh crisis. तो उन्होंने मेरे से सवाल पूछा, भाई कैप्टन ये बताइए कि आपका जो कंट्री है इतना सॉफ्ट क्यों है, डिसाइसिव एक्शन क्यों नहीं लेते, और हिस्टोरिकली हर बार आपको हाथ जोड़ के खड़े रहना पड़ता है, अनलाइक चाइना के साथ कंपैरिजन आता है। और लॉट ऑफ पीपल हैव सेड कि चाइना ने बहुत अत्याचार किया मुस्लिम्स के ऊपर। व्हाट हैव दे डन? दे हैव बैंड रमजान, नंबर वन। नंबर टू, you know, the mosques in China have been all pulled down and are being reconstructed with the Chinese architecture. That means those minarets are being removed. Thirdly, they have banned polygamy, they have banned Sharia, and also they frown on praying 5 times a day, as they say it's a waste of time and affects the work output of a factory. Well, that's a line of thought, because if a man is going to sit down and pray 5 times a day, maybe even for 5 minutes, he's going to upset what is called the cycle of production. And yet, nobody seems to condemn China for these things. Everybody is saying it's honky-dory with China. Look at Turkey. Turkey feels China is doing very well. Pakistan, they're supposed to be blowing hot and cold against other countries, but not against China. Why? And when it comes to India, the Indian state is routinely condemned by the OIC for human rights violations in Kashmir. अब बताइए जरा, ये कोई बात है? सो लोगों ने मेरे से पूछा, कैप्टन ये डिस्क्रिमिनेशन क्यों है? Why is it that India is not able to influence the world and China has such a big influence? ये पॉइंट हम स्टडी करेंगे अभी। एंड द फर्स्ट पॉइंट वी मस्ट रिमेंबर इज कि चाइना जो था कमजोर जरूर हो गया था ड्यूरिंग द 19th and 20th century के बिगिनिंग में, but overall it was a free country. It was not colonized like the way India was. While India from the 10th century onwards till the 20th century was colonized first by the Muslims, who were the rulers for about 800 years, and then for 200 years it was the British which were ruling India. So the Hindus were the subjects of both the rules. And the sad part is, many people have asked me how this could happen when the Hindus in those days used to have a strength of almost 250 million and the ruling elite was just about 200, 300,000. How could it ever happen? Well, I have no explanation to give on this myself, and I've been wondering why this should happen. I really can't comment on it. But if you go through this video, listen to me carefully, then you will realize that there is a distorted me here. That means there is some defect in the Hindu character. And that character is manifesting itself now in Bangladesh. You are all aware that umpteen Hindus have been massacred in Bangladesh. Many Hindu professors and teachers have been asked to resign from their jobs, thrown out. Their houses have been burnt, temples are attacked, and Mr. Modi, our great Prime Minister, just sitting silently, maintaining an army which is the third largest in the world, and that is unable to act. It reminds me of Gulliver. आप जानते हो who was Gulliver? Gulliver was a character created by Jonathan Swift. He was a very big man, but he was tied to the post by small men called Lilliputians, and he became impotent and powerless. यही हाल है. Small countries in the Islamic world like Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, they are very small countries. They are calling the shots and India is keeping silent. Of course, America never wants India to rise up. I've already said it. It's a clash of civilizations. America cannot allow India to rise up and become a great power. But then India has itself to blame for these things. Now, how do you say India is to be blamed? First of all, I think I will discuss the Hindu character. That is very important. What is the Hindu character? Hindu character is a belief that everything is ordained by Lord Krishna and the Almighty, Vishnu. And Krishna in the Gita says that not a leaf moves in this world without my will. Well, I also believe in it. But there is a limit to the belief. And practically, Krishna also says that you must take the law into your own hands and fight. After all, he advised Krishna, advised Arjuna just before the onset of the battle at Kurukshetra that it was his duty to fight. Now, people forget about that part. That means it is your duty to fight for your kins, for your country, for your people. And this is where we interpret Hinduism wrongly here. Now, as far as Bangladesh is concerned, a lot of atrocities have been committed, and I am yet to understand why Mr. Modi, who is maintaining the fourth largest army in the world, I think maybe the third largest army in the world with a lot of fighting potential, is just sitting in the barracks and doing parades during Independence Day and Republic Day. Why couldn't this army have been used from day one to support Sheikh Hasina when she had fled the country? Another thing we must remember is the failure of Indian intelligence. I think everywhere they fail. They failed in the case of Pannu, they failed in Kashmir, and now they have failed in Bangladesh. I fail to understand with the Indians having so many agents on the ground in Bangladesh, they had no whiff of what was brewing against Sheikh Hasina, which was being instigated by the Americans, the Pakistanis, the Chinese, and India was sitting on its haunches. A lot depends on the leader and how aggressive he is. Now, our leader at the moment is Narendra Modi. I'm sorry to say that he is not in the class of Bismarck. Bismarck, as you know, is the one who united Germany, and he had a policy of blood and iron. I think the only man out of the Indian leadership in the 20th century who could have matched up to him was Subhash Chandra Bose, who had that famous slogan, "Give me blood and I'll give you freedom." Well, that's a strong word, and he led the Indian National Army against the British. And the British so badly shaken after the defeat with Hitler, they realized that the Indian army was suspect and they could no longer rely on this mercenary army to police India, and they ran away like rats. So the credit for the freedom goes not to Gandhi, but to Bose. Unfortunately, after 1947, the leadership of India passed into the hands of people like Gandhi and Nehru. Now, they were great men in their own way, but definitely not the men to lead a new nation forward, which must regain its place in world history. India, as you know, was known as the Sone ki Chidiya. Not only that, it was a great empire. You look at the map, the way Kanishk was ruling and the other kings were ruling, Vikramaditya, they were great emperors who believed in the politics of war. And after all, you can't forget that Chandragupta Maurya defeated the Greeks, and the Greeks had to cede a lot of territory to him. And he founded the Mauryan Empire. All that is there. But then from the 10th century onwards, by a quirk of history, the Hindus were getting defeated in every battle with the Muslims. I'll discuss that aspect later because that was basically faulty military strategy. But fact is they were lost and they became docile. They accepted this as something part of karma. That means you got to be a slave, means you be a slave. And then, of course, we have the caste system, which is so very terrible. It doesn't exist in any other country in the world. And even now, the political parties in India are swearing by the caste system and reservation of jobs and all that on the caste, that the caste is going to be perpetuated for the next 1,000 years. And I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is a breakup of India in time to come. Don't think this is a far-fetched idea or something which I'm talking out of the way, because the ingredients are there and the Western powers, including China and Pakistan, are fishing in it. As I've already mentioned, they're not going to allow India to become a superpower. And somebody made a statement, I think the Indian Prime Minister, that India would be a developed country in 2048. I mean, there's a lot of bull, frankly. I don't think India is going to reach that situation. But the Americans would forestall even this wild dream. Now, the bigger thing in India is that we have a government which is steeped in Hinduism. Very correct, it's very nice. But it doesn't take the positive qualities of Hinduism, the warlike qualities which Hindus have, and is talking on pacifism and wondering what is to be done. Even a small thing like enforcing president's rule in Bengal is not being carried out by Narendra Modi. Why? I mean, he must be having some serious psychosis. And he keeps on sitting there with his beard and going around. I mean, it's so very sad, that's all I can say. He had time to go to Ukraine, but he didn't have time to go to a place which is burning fire and smoke in India, and that is Manipur. And Manipur is an international issue. It's not something confined to India, because here the Christians are fighting the Mithai, and that the Christians are the Kuki tribes, the Mithai are the Hindu tribes, and the Christians are being backed by the Americans. They've been able to use drones for their attack. Now, where the hell they got the drones, I don't know, but there it is. Indian intelligence doesn't know. And now the situation is that Modi has washed his hands off, and now he's almost become like a mummy, a mummy, silent. After his last loss of majority in parliament, I think he has himself to blame for it, because he was supporting Amit Shah, and Amit Shah had his own axe to grind against Yogi Adityanath. With the result, all the candidates which were put up for the last election from UP, recommended by Yogi Adityanath, I mean almost 60 or 70% of them were cut off. The names were cut by Amit Shah. He thought he's going to be the Prime Minister of India. He didn't want somebody to come up in UP and be elected as a supporter of Yogi. I think this man should have his ears pulled, and there's a reason to really throw him out of the cabinet also. I've yet to understand how his son, who's a non-entity, never held a bloody cricket bat in his life, he goes and becomes the chairman of the ICC. Jay Shah. I mean, it's so very silly. I don't know. Modi is talking of dynastic politics and all that. What about this dynastic? It's not politics, it's dynastic power. He's got to do something about it. He hasn't done anything. He's got to set an example. He should call Amit Shah and tell him, look, your son better resign from this post, somebody else should go there. But has he got the guts? Well, if he didn't have the guts to intervene in Bengal and in Bangladesh, you could well imagine. Now, Bangladesh, I'm coming to that thing. Why didn't India act when all this killing and mayhem was doing and Sheikh Hasina was flying out? That was the time for the Indian Air Force to get into action. There was need for the gunships to scour the countryside in Bangladesh, hunting out the mobs which were attacking the Hindus, and create a fear psychosis by firing on them. We had the firepower, why we didn't do it? And that was the time when if India had struck at that time, the world would have said India is right. But now, by sitting on the fence like Humpty Dumpty, who sat on a wall and had a great fall, Modi been sitting on the fence, and now it's become too late. It's fait accompli. And now the Americans are in the game. Donald Lu is visiting Dhaka. And it is about time that Modi pulled up his socks. I'm really getting a little cheese of this man. He's appealing to Joe Biden to help save the Hindus in Bangladesh. I mean, nothing could be more sillier than that. When you have such a standing army, why the hell should you get worried about some Islamic countries getting together and passing a resolution against you? They are doing it every day on Kashmir. They say you are committing untold atrocities there. They're doing that. They haven't stopped it. India has not given up Kashmir. And similarly, there's every reason that we should have moved in a big way in Bangladesh by now. And Sheikh Hasina should have been restored back to power. She has a lot of support. The Awami League is not finished. They are in hiding, but now they're being hunted by rats and killed. And all because Mr. Narendra Modi is totally inactive. One reason for his inaction is that for the last 75 years, India was always having inaction. People talk Gandhi won invitation for independence for India. I like you to ponder over it. He was a man who had an ego. He was a man who was a poor Britisher. And no less than a cabinet minister in England, when asked during the Quit India movement as to how you are going to control it, he, I believe, said that we have our man in India, that is Gandhi. And not many people know that Gandhi got the Kesari Hind Award for his services to the British Empire and King. Anyway, it's part of the game. Another thing again, Gandhi was following his philosophy, let him do it. But it is for the people to have rejected his policy. He got partition done, got about 2 million people killed. I think that's a very conservative message. I don't know, but that's what some people are talking. So take it as with a pitch of war, but you can take that thousands were killed. Same thing in Bangladesh. Bangladesh, they have been fighting all the time, continuing since 1947. There have been riots against the Ahmadiyya, there have been riots against the Hindus, and it continues. Bangladesh is an eyesore, it's a basket case, and there's a need to carve out a separate Hindu state in East Pakistan, erstwhile East Pakistan, that is Bangladesh. The Hindus are in big number, almost 1.5 crores, and they're entitled for a separate state if their lifestyle is threatened. They're going to get killed. So it is time that the British Indian army should have moved in. But as I told you, the horses are bolted. You can get the horses back in the stable, and this is where Mr. Modi committed a grave blunder. Modi is an enigma. I have not been able to understand that he had 10 years of a clean run with the massive majority in parliament, and yet 3 or 4 things which he should have done, he didn't do it. He did not integrate Kashmir fully with the Indian state. The Kashmiri Pandits never went back. It is still difficult to settle in Kashmir. The demography there has not changed. Secondly, he has also not brought in the uniform civil code. 10 years, it's an era, and he was sitting on it like a hen. What the hell was he sitting there for? This is part of the BJP manifesto from Word 1 and part of the philosophy of the RSS. He was extending caste reservations to all parts of life. And in the latest thing, he has shown that he had feet of clay when 58 vacancies were advertised without caste reservation, and the opposition made a hue and cry, including that rat, I call him a rat, small one, Chirag Paswan. He also was shouting a bit here and there, and he withdrew that advertisement. And the main thing which I have observed all his life is that he wants to compromise. He's not a face. And I remember once going through a video made by Savio Rodriguez, and he said Modi must not just roar, he must learn how to bite, and that he can't do. The Sikh farmers started an agitation against the progressive laws. Lots of atrocities were committed at that time. There were some killings here and there, and Modi withdrew the FRAM laws, which were very progressive. And maybe he thought, he's going to get a lot of kudos and he win a lot of seats in parliament and the assembly in Punjab, but he got zero. Then the CAA agitation was on in Shaheen Bagh and he withdrew it and just sat on the fence. So you just name it, whatever he has done. And I thought Ram temple was the wrong priority. I mean, Ram is all right, but he's not the main god in the Hindu pantheon. Shiva, Vishnu, and Krishna are the men with the greater gods with the greater following. So the sad part is that the public didn't listen to Mr. Modi, and the Lok Sabha elections in Ayodhya, the BJP lost. The BJP lost even in Kedarnath and I think Badrinath, with the holiest of Hindu shrines. So it must be a thing which must lead to introspection from Modi. And the cardinal criminal, or whatever you say, the man who is to be blamed for all this, is Amit Shah. He allowed Amit Shah a big rope, saying he's a Chanakya. Well, he is any Chanakya anyway. What has he done? And earlier there was a plan even to sideline Yogi Adityanath. Now, he's the one leader who can lead India forward. And if Modi is not able to lead India forward, I think he's going to be 75 next year. He should better lie down and quit. We don't want a man who believes in the policy, "Main chup rahunga." You know, there used to be a Hindi film, "Main chup rahungi" with Meena Kumari. And he's following the faith policy, "Main chup rahunga." He doesn't talk on Manipur, he doesn't talk anything. He has not officially condemned the Bangladesh government for the massacres which have been committed in Bangladesh against the Hindus. By now, he should have moved to the United Nations, the Security Council, and he should have, if all else fails, you know what Guru Gobind Singh said? If it all else fails, it is but righteous to draw the sword. And I see no reason why the sword could not have been drawn now when it was so badly needed in Bangladesh. We have had a string of prime ministers, while like Nehru, who gave away such a lot for India, and coming down to the point which I raised earlier, why China is given a long rope by the others, including the Muslim world, and not India, is because China has built up a tremendous economy. They got billions of dollars to lend, to give money, and everybody wants money. India has got nothing to give. Indian economy, I think, is about 3.5 to 3.6 trillion, while the Chinese is 18.5 to 19 trillion. There's no comparison. And in another 10 years, they will overtake the United States, which has an economy of about 25 trillion. It's going to happen. And they have got deep pockets. That's why all the countries which are surrounding India, like Pakistan, Nepal, Burma, and now Bangladesh, as well as Sri Lanka, all in the Chinese lap. China has already occupied the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka for 99 years. That's a great threat to India. And then the port of Gwadar in Pakistan is also with the Chinese. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese are given some facilities in Bangladesh. The American game is very difficult to decipher. I've been wondering. Because Biden and other people have no real love for India. I don't think so. Neither Donald Trump. They want to treat India as a yes man. Well, so long as you toe the American line, they say, well, we are with you. But if the moment you make a little independent foray, then they don't want it. And now India is having a friendship with Russia. Very good thing. But gentlemen, the problem is not friendship with Russia. The problem is something else. The problem is that we are at a wit's end at the moment. We're sitting on the fence as far as Russia is concerned. And a lot of talk is coming, that Putin is very happy with India, is a great power and all. I mean, these are all platitudes. Will Russia back India against China? That is the crucial question, which Modi and his foreign minister must answer. That means you cannot sit on the fence and you cannot become like Gulliver, impotent and powerless. If you maintain an army, you must have the guts to use it and fight. That's what the Lord Krishna said. I will close now, gentlemen. I hope Mr. Modi can see some reason and not just keep sitting on the fence and keeping his silent. India has got to move forward, and if Modi cannot do it, the best thing he should do is to resign and go and hand over to Yogi Adityanath. I hope, gentlemen, you like this video. Please share it with your friends and come back for more. And I'll look forward to greater interaction with you. In the meantime, take care, goodbye, and God bless. Jai Hind.